Hi, this is Dr. Greg Gillum, CEO of Human Fusion, and this article review comes from the September 4th, 2019 issue of Harvard Business Review. It's by Elizabeth Grace Saunders, who's an executive coach, and this article is how to motivate yourself when you don't have a deadline. So if you're familiar with goal setting, you've probably ran across the acronym SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time specific. Those are all the characteristics that make a great goal and dramatically increase the likelihood that you'll hit them. So we're very good at the A and the R, attainable, relevant. We're very good at those. Not so good at specifics or specificity. Not so good at figuring out how to measure them. So we need to work on those. But this particular article talks about the T in SMART, the time specific. What do you do when you have a bunch of projects that were really self-imposed, right? They're not coming from your boss with a deadline. They're self-imposed. They're things that you want to do, want to accomplish, but you don't give them a deadline. What do you do when you have a bunch of those? All right, so the number one thing, and this is not really rocket science. This is pretty easy, but again, that's usually what works best. Simple stuff. So the number one thing is make a deadline. So here's how I do this. So in my project planner, I actually make my own. I create my own planner, and I've got my to-do, my task list on one side, my week on the other side, so I can look back and forth. But in the very back of my planner, I have my projects, and none of them have deadlines that are on the project page. So what I'll do is on Friday afternoon, I'll try to pick one or two of those projects to move into my weekly calendar. I'll put a specific deadline on those because, again, if I don't do that, they'll sit on that back project page and they'll never get done. So if you don't do that, what will happen to your projects is they'll get longer and longer and longer, or the same projects will always stay on your project page. So my project page never really changes that much. It gets a little shorter and then a little longer, but it pretty much stays the same. And the reason is projects go off, new ones come on every single week. And so steady state, it kind of stays the same, but at least it looks a little different. So number one is to make a deadline. Force a deadline upon yourself. Number two, enlist positive peer pressure. So you don't necessarily need to put something out on Instagram or on Facebook or whatever, but it would be very helpful if you would enlist the help of a friend or a coworker or a coach, a team member, whatever it might be. Tell the other person that you need to finish this deadline by this time. Even better if it becomes a buddy system where, hey, if you've got a list of projects that you can't complete, I've got the same list. Let's hold each other accountable, and by Friday of next week, let's make sure that we knock a couple of projects off our list, and then hold yourselves accountable. And then the final thing that the article recommends is to incentivize yourself. So if I knock this project off on Wednesday afternoon like I've planned it, then maybe I'll knock off early, go to the park, read a book, watch Netflix series, whatever it might be. Incent yourself, or the opposite of that is disincent yourself. If I don't get that project done by Wednesday afternoon, then I'm not going to watch my Netflix series, or I'm not going to be able to go to the park like I normally do with my friends. You're going to set up a penalty for yourself. And so hopefully by employing these three strategies, right? So creating an artificial deadline, enlist positive peer pressure, and then create incentives or disincentives. Hopefully those three strategies will help you. Now, I have to admit, you have to be self-disciplined to make this thing work, because it's very easy to sort of lie to ourselves. It's very easy to break promises with ourselves because we validate them. We don't hold ourselves accountable like we would with a friend or with a coworker or with a boss. So if you've got the willpower and the self-discipline to do this, this should work very well. Otherwise, you might struggle hitting these deadlines. If you like management-related videos like this, please subscribe to Human Fusion, and we'll keep you up to date on all the latest trends that are affecting your management practice today.